The third COVID-19 vaccine was just granted the emergency use authorization by the FDA. It is manufactured by Johnson and Johnson. It is so exciting that we have an addition to our armamentarium against the COVID pandemic. In contrast to the two mRNA vaccines by Pfizer and Moderna, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is an adenoviral vector-based vaccine. I will use the two cartoons here to briefly explain how the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is made. The left cartoon illustrates the coronavirus. The spike proteins on the surface of the coronavirus play a key role in viral infections of human cells. Inside the virus is the viral genome. About 13% of the genome codes for the spike protein. Scientists generated the DNA fragment that codes for the spike protein and inserted this piece of DNA into the genome of a modified and harmless adenovirus shown on the right. This genetically engineered adenovirus is utilized as a vaccine against the COVID-19 infection. After the adenoviral vector vaccine is injected, the viral particles are swallowed by human cells. The adenoviruses then release their genetic materials into the nucleus, where the pieces of DNA encoding the COVID spike proteins are transcribed into messenger RNAs. The messenger RNAs then move into the cytoplasm of the cells. The coronavirus spike proteins are produced as instructed by the messenger RNAs. The spike proteins subsequently stimulate the human immune system to generate specific antibodies that neutralize the COVID-19 virus to prevent infection. As compared to the Johnson & Johnson adenoviral vaccine, the vaccines from Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna are both mRNA vaccines. The mRNAs in the vaccines code for the spike proteins on the surface of the coronavirus. They are synthesized in laboratories and then get packaged in lipid nanoparticles to make the mRNA vaccines. After the mRNA vaccine is injected, the mRNAs enter the human cells which produce the COVID-19 spike proteins. The human immune system is stimulated by the spike proteins and generates specific neutralizing antibodies to prevent COVID-19 infection. I would like to clarify that neither the mRNA vaccines nor the adenoviral vector vaccine contain the live coronavirus. None of the vaccines cause a COVID-19 infection or lead to human genetic mutation. I will use this table to compare the three COVID vaccines. Both the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines are mRNA vaccines. Each dose of the Pfizer vaccine contains 30 micrograms of mRNA, and each dose of the Moderna vaccine contains 100 micrograms. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine uses adenovirus type 26 as a vector. Each dose of this vaccine contains 50 billion viral particles. Both the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines require two shots, a priming dose followed by a booster shot. The interval between the two Pfizer vaccine shots is 21 days. The interval between the two Moderna doses is 28 days. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine requires only one shot. The Pfizer vaccine can be given to people aged 16 years and older, whereas both the Moderna and Johnson & Johnson vaccines have been cleared for use in people aged 18 and older. The Pfizer vaccine has shown an efficacy of 95% at preventing symptomatic COVID infection 1 week after the second dose. The efficacy of the Moderna vaccine is similar. It was 94.1% effective at preventing symptomatic COVID-19 infection 2 weeks after the second shot. In contrast, the efficacy of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was 72% in protecting against moderate to severe COVID disease after one shot. The efficacy was demonstrated in clinical trials in the United States. It was 85% effective in preventing against severe disease. 4 weeks after the single shot of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, there was 0 deaths or hospitalizations from COVID-19 infection among the vaccinated group of people. It is difficult to compare the efficacy of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine to that of the mRNA vaccines because of the differences in the designs of the phase 3 clinical trials. Pfizer's and Moderna's trials tested for the prevention of any symptomatic COVID-19 infections. Johnson & Johnson, by contrast, defined the clinical outcome of its vaccine as the prevention of moderate to severe COVID disease. In addition, Pfizer and Moderna's vaccines were tested before the emergence of the COVID variants in UK, South Africa, and Brazil. When the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was in clinical trials, the mutated virus started to pop up in those countries. Because of the above reasons, it is hard to judge which vaccine is the better one. However, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is very convenient because of the requirement of only a single jab. Although all of the 3 vaccines are very effective against symptomatic COVID-19 infection, it is not yet known if any of these vaccines can prevent asymptomatic infection or prevent vaccinated people from transmitting the virus to other people. The side effects of the mRNA vaccines are similar. The most common side effects are injection site pain, local swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle pain, joint pain, nausea, fever, chills, and very rarely anaphylaxis, which is a very severe allergic reaction. In general, side effects are more common and severe after the second shot, and younger adults experience more side effects than older folks. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine causes less frequent and milder side effects as compared to those of the mRNA vaccines. Over the past 14 months, the COVID pandemic has wreaked havoc in the world. In the United States alone, there are almost 30 million confirmed COVID-19 cases, resulting in over 500,000 deaths. Now, we see the light in the tunnel. With 3 effective vaccines available and the accelerating pace of mass vaccination, the rampant COVID-19 transmission will most likely be contained in the United States by the end of this summer.